What does freedom mean to you? Does it mean the freedom to choose? The freedom to have a family and raise your kids according to your own values? What about living a wild, adventurous life, experimenting with music, relationships, or art? What does freedom really mean? What if freedom meant something that only a few Americans still understood? What if it meant that your choices and your values were set by you rather than by some politician in a far-off capital? Some people think we're only free to choose to live exactly how they live, by their moral code, or their narrow worldviews. But if liberty means anything, it means that you, and you alone, have the power to exercise your rights to which the laws of nature and nature's God granted you. It's time to put these principles back into action. It's time to restore the American dream, activate in our communities, and take our country back. It's time to wake up, America.
Good morning, it's 7:02. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson at wakeupamericashow.com. We've got a great show for you today, some big guests and some enormous topics. First up at the top of the show, hashtag Twittergate2. New revelations from the leaks show that a lawyer who was connected to the FBI and to the Steele dossier was involved in the initial phase of the planned leaks of information from Twitter. This is per Elon Musk and journalist Matt Taibbi, as well as Bari Weiss. We'll be discussing that at the top of the show. Then at 7:30 this morning, we're going to speak to Vance Ginn, former top White House economist from the Office of Management and Budget, to talk about the recent attacks by right-wing Republicans against free markets. We'll talk about why free markets are actually good for the working class. This morning at 8 a.m., we'll speak to Judge Andrew Napolitano about those Twitter leaks. We'll ask him what he thinks our friend Squiggly should do, and we'll talk to him about why it's important to protect even the rights of people you hate. At 8:30 this morning, it's the dawn of a new golden era for the Wake Up America show. I am thrilled, excited, and pleased to present to you our new sponsor, Lear Capital. Oh, it's a big deal. It's a big deal, all right. This is the dawn of a new golden era, which means that going forward, provided we are successful for our sponsor, the Wake Up America show will grow and build into what I believe will be a new libertarian network. You see, the plan all along was not just to have one show, one host, but to bring on more shows and more hosts, and to build out a liberty-loving network, hire more liberty lovers just like me, and create more content so that we can take over the government and leave everyone alone. This is the beginning. This is the spark. The match has been lit. And now it's up to you, the listener, the watcher, the supporter of the Wake Up America show, to do your part. Step in and buy a little gold. More on that later. We'll also speak to Kevin Demery of Lear Capital, who will join us at 8:30 this morning to talk about how excited they are to work with us and help spread the message of gold. Gold is money. Gold is freedom. First off, I should tell you a little bit of house cleaning things. If you're wondering why I'm only speaking in one tone, you'll have to forgive me because I do believe I have strep throat. There was so much exciting stuff going on today, though, I decided not to take a day off, to continue on my path, to continue to do the show, both shows today, because I'm so excited to talk about the news, and because, frankly, when you work for yourself, the show must go on. If you'd like to text the program this morning, you can at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. You can also send us a super chat if you'd like to have your chat read on the screen. You can get your text message read for free if you send us a text message at 573. That's my little phone right there. If you send us a text message, I will read your text unless you tell me not to. But if you want to send a super chat, you can. That helps support the channel. I'm very excited to see John Rail here this morning. Tyler Nelson, Chris Morrill, nice to see you here. Cecilia H. A.N. Henry, good morning. Nice to see you here. John, I'm glad that you appreciated the holidays card. I'm glad that you got it in time. Andy Opperman, you got your Christmas card. Everybody's getting their Christmas cards. We're glad to see it. Steffi and I love making people happy, and you certainly have been big supporters of ours, and we wanted to show you how much we appreciate you for that. So we hope that we can count on your continued support in the new year and your friendship as well. as we continue to grow and build into something that's very exciting. I'm very excited about the future of the Wake Up America show because this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. All right, let's get to the news, why everybody's here this morning. Elon Musk said that one of Twitter's top lawyers was exited. This is part of the fallout from the billionaire's unusual efforts to release internal communications to criticize prior practices at the company he bought almost 6 weeks ago. This is per the Wall Street Journal and Fox News. Jim Baker, Matt Taibbi, who is the journalist who first broke the news of Elon Musk's Twitter files, revealed that the company's top lawyer had, quote, vetted what information was shared without knowledge of the new boss. Pretty scary stuff. Musk announced on Tuesday that he had terminated Deputy Counsel Jim Baker in light of concerns about Baker's possible role in suppression of information important to the public dialogue. And when asked by a Twitter user if Baker was able to explain himself, Musk replied that his explanation was, quote, unconvincing. Yikes. Good morning, Will Perry. Thanks for the super chat and the well wishes. Hopefully I will get well soon. I'm going to go to the an urgent care clinic as soon as all of my programs are done this morning. But I'm just going to power through, and hopefully my voice will make it through the 2 shows I have to produce today. I might take a day off tomorrow, but as it is right now, let's power through. Big news makes me excited. Lots of exciting things happening. I'm coming in. I don't care. There's nobody else in here for me to get sick. All right. So Musk announced on Tuesday he had terminated this Deputy General Counsel Jim Baker in, quote, in light of concerns about Baker's possible role of suppression of information important to the public dialogue, meaning what we don't know just yet, but what we're concerned about is the possibility that this Jim Baker character might have deleted some of this stuff before it got out to the public. I mean, and here's the thing. What I'm hearing right now is that this is just the tip of the iceberg. The information that we are getting right now, or at least the information that we have right now, is just the beginning. I mean, consider this. What we've already found out is pretty big. But how many of you have been shadow banned on Twitter? If you don't know what that is, it's essentially you post, you'll tweet something or you post something essentially, and it won't get out to all of your followers. It'll be shadow banned. Like you'll see it there on the timeline, but it won't get any action. People who have subscribed to you won't see it. That's shadow banning to an extent. So we have just seen the tip of the iceberg so far. So Matt Taibbi, started his own Twitter thread, last night, calling this a Twitter Files supplemental. And here's what Taibbi had to say. He said, on Friday, the first installment of the Twitter Files was published here. We expected to publish more over the weekend. Many wondered why there was a delay. Taibbi tweeted, we can now tell you part of the reason why. On Tuesday, Twitter Deputy General Counsel and former FBI General Counsel Jim Baker was fired. Among the reasons why he was fired, vetting the first batch of Twitter files without knowledge of the new management. All right. Former FBI General Counsel worked at Twitter. I mean, this guy was glowing all over the place. And it confirms my suspicion that I've had for quite some time that many of these social media companies, whether they know it or not, have fed either former feds or maybe even feds who are currently working at the agency at the highest levels of these social media companies. At this point now, if you had to ask me which social media company I trusted the most, I mean, none of them, but I mean, if I had to say, I would absolutely say Twitter at this point because of what we're finding out. At least, Twitter now, not Twitter before Elon Musk. Taibbi explained that the process for producing the Twitter files involved delivery to 2 journalists, Barry Weiss and me, he says, Matt Taibbi, via a lawyer close to new management. But after the initial batch of information dropped, things started to get complicated, according to Taibbi. Over the weekend, while they were both dealing with obstacles to new searches, it was Barry Weiss who discovered that the person in charge of releasing the files was someone named Jim. When she called to ask Jim's last name, the answer came back, Jim Baker. Taibbi says that that Weiss said that her jaw hit the floor, and then she shared a screenshot of the first batch of files that he and Weiss received, which were labeled Spectra Baker emails. Spectra Baker emails. Now, Baker is this is what how Matt Taibbi describes him. He says he's a controversial figure. He's been something of a Zelig of FBI controversies dating back to 2016. I had to look up what Zelig meant too. I had no idea. Apparently, a Zelig is, this is the definition, a person who is typically an ordinary or unimportant person who seems to turn up with surprising or unaccountable frequency in a variety of settings, or any highly adaptable or opportunistic person, right? So a person who seems kind of normal, but but they're always seemingly involved in all these abnormal circumstances. Whenever things like this happen, they seem to always be involved. I mean, again, I'm just scratching the surface on this Jim Baker character, because the Jim Baker character was apparently involved in you got it, the Steele dossier, this highly discredited Steele dossier that attempted to prove that Donald Trump was involved in Russian collusion in winning the 2016 election. This is wild stuff. Send us a text, 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, on this story. You can either text them in to me to hear it read for free, or you can also super chat them so that if you'd like to help support the channel, and of course, you're going to support the channel by buying gold. I love gold. We're going to talk to Vance Ginn this morning at 7:30 a.m., as well as my friend Kevin Demerit from Lear Capital at 8:30, Judge Napolitano at 8 a.m. It's going to be an awesome show today. So Jim Baker, this Jim Baker character, let's continue on here. So Taibbi's essentially revealed that the decisions to censor the New York Post's reporting the Hunter Biden laptop story were made at the highest levels of the company, but without the knowledge of CEO Jack Dorsey. Wow, this stuff was going on underneath the CEO's nose, and they were keeping it from him. And I have a suspicion why. And I don't care if you don't believe me on this one, but with the fact that Jack Dorsey tweeted Anatomy of the State by Murray Rothbard, my guess is that the lib left, which are the majority, it's like there's a lot of stuff to unpack with this. I'll try and make this as simple as possible. The lib left, who are the majority of people who work at these social media institutions, knew that Jack Dorsey was not keen on them censoring this story. They wanted to Vijay Gadde and this Jim Baker character and a lot of these people who were fired at Twitter by Musk. They knew that Jack Dorsey was not on their side on censoring a lot of this information, so they did it without his knowledge and underneath his nose. And before you say, well, Jack Dorsey hired all these people, right? You have to understand that, like, it's San Francisco, it's like New York, right? I mean, this is why I'm hoping that Elon Musk takes Twitter and goes to Texas, because when I worked at Fox News in New York, for example, like a lot of the producers for those conservative shows are liberals, right? Because there really aren't a lot of conservative, television producers. There aren't a lot of conservative coders, right? There aren't a lot of conservatives who can write code. There aren't a lot of conservatives in the media. Please, you have to excuse me if you're just tuning in to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. I am fighting what I believe to be strep throat. I'll be going to the urgent care center as soon as I have 2 shows to do today. So as soon as my second show is over, I'm going to go to urgent care, see if I can get some antibiotics to fight it. Thanks, Steffi. I appreciate it. Sounding good definitely has a lot to do with your helping me this morning get ready. And I've got my little steamer this morning. I don't know have you guys ever seen one of these? I'm going to do a diversion real quick. Sorry, I'm going to probably lose viewers for this. But you ever seen one of these things right here? I love these things, man. If you've ever had a sore throat and you want to start feeling better, you get these little Vicks. They've got like little Vicks Vapo rub things in them. And then it steams up and it's just like Darth Vader. Oh, it's like, oh Lord. I am beautiful. Well, it's like one of those pap things, whatever you have. All right. So I'm going to go take a little quick commercial break. When we get back, we're going to continue along. We're not done with this. We've got more to go on this story. I've got tons more information to go. We've got lots of exciting news to share with you when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today.
Fire.
Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.
Morning at 7:21. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. You can text the show if you want to have your text read into the show for free at 573-319-1586. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do a super chat over at YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe and hit that bell notification icon over on YouTube so that we can get more people to watch the show in the mornings. Lots of different ways to support the show. You can become a member as well. You can also do something awesome. Before we get back to the story about Jim Bakker and the Twittergate story, I've got something exciting I'd like to share with you. First, here we go. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is a commercial. But it's a great commercial. We're going to make commercials great again. This is my endorsement of Lear Capital for your gold and silver needs. But it's not just regular gold and silver coins you can buy from them. You can also get a gold IRA. And I'm going to tell you a brief little story about why buying gold was one of the smartest decisions I ever made. You see, back in 2007, when I first was a young little libertarian pup, and I was a volunteer for Congressman Ron Paul's presidential campaign, I was listening to Ron Paul's advice to buy gold. And I thought to myself, well, I only have, a couple $1,000s. I didn't have a whole lot of money at the time, right? I was, just kind of like, poor broke actor guy in New York. But I did it anyway. I took the only money that I had, the only savings that I had in the world, and I used it to buy gold. And you know what happened? Just like a few short months after that, the stock market crashed, the economy tanked, the housing market dipped, and all of a sudden gold went from, I think, like $700 an ounce to like $1,200 an ounce, and I was just sitting pretty. I said to myself, oh my God, thank you, Ron Paul. Thank you, Ron Paul. You saved me. You saved me. If I had bought stocks or bonds or invested in real estate before that with that money, I would have been in big trouble. But I did something smart. I hedged my bets with gold. I bought gold and silver coins. And then it came in really handy when a couple years later, after I had worked in Washington, D.C., I had to move back to New York. But Fox is kind of notoriously cheap. They wouldn't pay my moving expenses to go back to New York. But I had the golden ticket. Well, it was gold coins. My Ron Paul gold that I had bought. And it had massively increased in value because of the devaluation of the dollar. So I could actually afford to move back to New York City to go work for Judge Napolitano, who will be joining us at 8 a.m. And that's my gold story. If you've got an IRA that's just sitting there, not making money, and you'd like to put it into something more secure, visit LearAustin.com. Make sure you use my website so that I can get credit for it so that they'll continue to sponsor the show. Go to LearAustin.com to find more information. Alternatively, you can call this number right over there. Solid gold. Smoking a pancake? Bonging a blintz? Oh, yeah. Might you have any shekels? This commercial is the best. I'm glad you like it. Write that number down. Just get an information packet from them. The more people who contact them, reach out to them through me, the better, right? But if you're going to be buying gold or silver, or you want to convert your IRA to a gold IRA, you can do that. Just use my website, LearAustin.com, or call 1-800-885-2175. All right, type in a crap. There we go. All right, let's get back to the show. Did you like the little disco music I had in there too? I worked so hard to make this show so special for you guys. I hope that you appreciate it. Welcome to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. Let's get back to the big news story. Before joining Twitter, we're talking about Twittergate. Elon Musk firing this lawyer, Jim Baker, who was involved in censoring the Hunter Biden and laptop Russia probe. Baker was involved in these discussions about whether the laptop, the Hunter Biden laptop, fell under Twitter's hacked materials policy. I kid you not. Baker had written in an email chain, I support the conclusion. We need more facts to assess whether the materials were hacked. At this stage, however, it's reasonable for us to assume that they may have been, and that caution is warranted. Bull.
Oh my God, bro.
Bull. That is a big pile of bull. Attorney Michael, before joining Twitter, so Baker was a general counsel at the FBI. He was a key figure into the Bureau's investigation into alleged interference. Excuse me. I'm just all messed up here today. In the 2016 presidential election, Attorney Michael Sussman met with Baker in 2016 and presented purported data and, quote, white papers that allegedly demonstrated a covert communication channel between the Trump Organization and Alfa Bank, which is based in Russia. Sussman was accused of telling Baker that he was not doing work for any client, those were his words, but later was billing the Hillary Clinton campaign for the work. Sussman was acquitted earlier this year on one count of making a false statement to the FBI. Of course he was acquitted, because he was doing the job that the FBI wanted him to do. And Hillary Clinton, of course, owns the FBI, because it is my opinion that the FBI is nothing more than the police enforcement wing of the Democratic National Committee. And that is what these Twitter files have shown, that the deep state, the bureaus of the government, no matter, it doesn't matter if there's a Republican administration, they work for the Democrats because they know that the Democrats are working in their best interests. The Democrats are the party of government, and the Republicans are the party of more, well, a little less big government, but still kind of big government. Sorry, Republicans. I've only been a Republican since 2017. So you can text the show today at 573-319-1586. If you're new to the stream this morning and it's your first time joining us, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification icon so that you can get alerts to come back and join us a little bit later. So Baker, this lawyer that Elon Musk fired from Twitter, who was like overseeing the Twitter leak drops initially, again, he's fired by Elon once they found out. He was also personally involved, this Jim Baker character, we call him a Zelig now. He was also personally involved in the FISA warrant application to surveil Carter Page, who was also working as an aide to former President Donald Trump's 2016 campaign. The application relied heavily on the discredited Trump dossier. Baker later admitted that his role in the Page FISA application was, quote, unusual. Yeah, quite unusual, wouldn't you say? Matt Taibbi said on Tuesday that he and another journalist, Barry Weiss, were dealing with, quote, obstacles to new searches when Weiss discovered that Baker was responsible for releasing the files over the weekend. So the news that Baker was reviewing the Twitter files surprised everybody involved, said Matt Taibbi. When Musk confronted Baker, his explanation was apparently unconvincing. What do you think about this? I think this is pretty dirty deeds. I love this story. It's intrigue. Just goes to show how terrible the feds are at covering their tracks, apparently. This is their... If the government, the role of the government is to protect our liberties and keep us safe, they're doing a terrible job. They can't even cover up their own misdeeds. When we get back, we're going to talk to Vance Ginn, former top Trump White House economist. I'll ask him what he thinks about the Twitter leaks, and then we'll talk to him about why capitalism is actually good for the working class, despite what some national conservatives might want you to believe. We'll talk about all that and more when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Austin's wife. I want to thank you all for watching the Wake Up America Show with Austin Peterson. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us.
I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you?
I want to ask you today to join Peterson's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Peterson's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and make your pledge today.
Hey, it's Austin. Thanks for watching and listening to the Wake Up America show. 2022 has been an exciting year for the Peterson household. Steffi and I celebrated our first anniversary, and my new radio program, The Austin Peterson Show, was syndicated in St. Louis just over a month ago. There have been some challenging times, but with the help and support of good friends like you, we've been able to come out even stronger at the end of this year than when we started. I wanted to take a moment to say thank you to the Cantina crew, especially Camelia Peterson, Tolly Owens, Jamie Marie Pope, Chris Morrill, Matt Unruh, Quest Fanning, Elizabeth Fanning Press, Tina Martin Goodrick, John Rail, Jasper Logan, Kathy Jo Loy, Edie Vogel, Grant Sundberg, Anna DePalm, Doug Hill, Andy Opperman, Lyle and Lori Rosberg, John Peterson, John Mashurik, Ava Lavasco, Leslie Scott Russell, Liberty Liss, Pam Ames, Cecilia Harden, Mary Kramer, and dozens more than I could list here. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and may your days be merry and bright with a Happy New Year.
Hello, I'm George. Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1, you can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself or me mom, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great. Number 2, most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3, you're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me Pops build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell, this commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning. It's 7:34. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Make sure that you click like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification icon so that you can get notifications whenever the Wake Up America show is live, which is every Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. We always pride ourselves on getting some of the best guests in political news talk on our program. You won't find guests like these anywhere else. Joining me now on the program, the former top economist at the Office of Management and Budget under the Trump White House. Joining me right now, Vance Ginn. Good morning, Vance. Thank you for joining us on the program today. Glad to have you here.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, good morning, Austin. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, Vance, just curious if you saw that news story that broke over the last weekend from those journalists releasing information from Twitter that revealed that that the Democrats had a back channel into the workings of Twitter to be able to have tweets pulled down that made Hunter Biden look bad, as well as suppressing the story from the New York Post. Your thoughts on this?
Well, it's another situation where you're having government intervene with the marketplace, and when you're having progressives, the liberals, come out and try to really squelch conservative thinking, conservative talk, and in this case, tweets. And it's another unfortunate situation. Look, we've already got a liberal media. When you think about CNN, MSNBC, all these other media channels, we don't need another media outlet to be progressive with Twitter or something else. I mean, look, I'm not sure if Twitter is necessarily this platform that's a public square because only a select number of people are even on Twitter. But at the same time, we shouldn't be keeping back the speech of conservatives and making sure that our voices are being heard throughout the process. And as you know, Austin, as we've talked, I mean, I'm a classical liberal, more libertarian overall. And so I want as liberal government as possible, whether it be in Twitter or Facebook and everything else. And I think some on the right have first said, you know what, we need to come in and regulate these things. But at the same time, the stuff that's going on right now seems to be illegal. There shouldn't be this sort of influence that the government or certain individuals can have on a certain company that's going to squelch the free speech, the First Amendment, for those on the right or center right. This is an unfortunate situation, but what I am glad of is for Elon Musk to come in and just start start to wreck shop, if you will, on what's happening at Twitter. This is a bad situation that we needed some new management, and it shows what new management can do if they come in to these private entities and really start to wreck shop, shake up what's happening within these entities. And so I hope this is a new day for Twitter. I mean, look, Austin, you and I have talked a lot on Twitter. I post all the time at Vance Ginn, and I think it's a great opportunity to reach a certain audience. Maybe the average person isn't necessarily looking at stuff on Twitter, but the people who are the think tankers, the influencers, the thought leaders, a lot of them, and politicians, of course, are on Twitter. So it's an important part of our daily lives. And I hope that this is the first step to getting government out of the way and getting more speech, no matter if it's progressive, libertarian, or conservative. All of it should have the freedom to speak what they want.
You're just tuning into the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson. I'm speaking to Vance Ginn. Vance is a senior fellow at Young Americans for Liberty. He's also a former top economist at the Office of Management and Budget under the Trump White House. Yesterday, Vance, I shared an article with you that claimed that the era of free markets was over. Now comes the era of the working class Republicans. We're having a bit of a battle in the Republican Party between these factions like ourselves, people like yourself and myself, who ascertain that free markets are the best way to protect our liberties and to build a strong economy. But there are Republicans who do not agree with us, Vance, many who are openly attacking us and openly attacking free markets. I mean, it's been an open secret for quite some time that many Republicans don't believe in free markets or free market economics, not just by the way that they speak, but by the way they vote when they get elected. But never really have I seen such an openly hostile and brazen attack on the marketplace that gave us, turned America into the powerhouse economy that it has been. I wonder what your take is on this piece, this article that says that free markets don't benefit the working class.
First thing I would say is free market capitalism is the best path to prosperity. I think it's as simple as that. And when you start putting in caveats to that and start bringing in big government to that, you're going to mess with the great achievements that have been made throughout human history. We are in the richest time of human history ever right now. And there are some things that need to be improved. But those things that need to be improved, like healthcare, like education, like manufacturing, and I could go down the list, the labor market, are not problems due to the free market. They are problems due to government. Big government. They're taking their eye off the prize. I mean, look, those who are advocating for some of these changes, I think, recognize some of the key problems that are out there, that there aren't enough well-paid jobs, that there are too many people that are in poverty, that there isn't a good healthcare system or education system. They identify the problems well. I actually agree with a lot of what they say. The problem is with their solution. Their solution for them is that it's government. I mean, even Reagan said, right, that government's the problem. It's not the solution here, and it shouldn't be the solution now. Now, of course, a lot of these folks that even are on the right are saying that we don't need, zombie Reaganism. We don't need Reagan to come back. Yeah, exactly. It's a scary sort of thing. But I think we need to get back to that. Look at the amount of flourishing that we had during the 1980s and 90s. I think it was a lot brought on by President Reagan, also Margaret Thatcher. And if you remember, they talked a lot about Hayek. Who would have thought? It was also a big time with Friedman. Milton Friedman was out there talking about these things. And I think if we lose sight of these key fundamentals of economics and the realities of the day-to-day things that we face, that economics is really about just the human exchange. It's about the people coming together. The marketplace, when they say free market, what they're really saying is that free people aren't able to overcome these obstacles. The market is nothing else but people. So we've got to make sure that that's the case.
If you're just tuning in to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson, you're listening to Vance Ginn, who's joining us right now. He's a former top economist in the Trump White House, as well as a senior fellow at Young Americans for Liberty. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate for just a moment, Vance, because what I'm hearing from a lot of these national conservatives who say that capitalism is anti-family, that free markets are bad for the American working class. What they're saying is that in terms of the American people, and there have been polls that have backed this up, what they're saying is that the American people are largely conservative in rhetoric, but socialist in practice, and that Americans, by and large, are socially conservative and fiscally socialist. Now, everything that we've seen from how our representatives have behaved in Congress and the way that they vote and the way that government has massively increased would tend to lend some credit to that theory, Vance, meaning that being socially conservative, I don't necessarily mean, like in the Ron Paul way, like, he's Christian and he, behaves himself and what have you. I mean, socially conservative, meaning everyone has to be socially conservative by law. Gay marriage should be banned. Drugs should be outlawed, right? Socially conservative in that way. And then fiscally socialist, meaning big spending, big government, massive programs, massive bureaucracy. The deep state that conservatives claim to hate, but vote for and spend billions and billions of dollars on every year, creating massive bureaus like the Department of Homeland Security and others created by Republicans, the TSA created by Republicans, right? That their argument is that this is clear evidence the American people are socially conservative and fiscally socialist, meaning, Vance, the American people are the opposite of libertarians. What would you say to that?
I think whenever you look at what people actually want out of their government, they want it to run more like a family, and where a family unit tends to be very conservative with how they spend their money for the most part. I actually think that a lot of people want government to be even more conservative with those dollars because they're all coming from the taxpayer, and it's not their money. If it's not your money, you don't spend it as wisely as you would otherwise when it's coming out of your pocket and when you're spending somebody else's money in the process. And a lot of these problems are too much government, too big government already. And so when someone says that we're failing the working class from the free market, a lot of times what I will look at is, where's the free market? I think we're pointing the finger at the wrong direction, because if the government is the problem, which I would argue that it is, whether it be healthcare, education, like I said earlier, the solution, if you add in more government, is just going to exacerbate, make the problem worse.
Okay, but I'm asking this because I want better arguments for myself too.
Sure.
When communists say real communism has never been tried, we laugh at them, right? But when libertarians say real capitalism has never been tried, they laugh at us, right? Is it the case that real communism has been tried, but real capitalism has?
So they argue that communism hasn't been tried, but everywhere that socialism
right. So I mean, like, you get where I'm going with this.
Yeah,
right?
No, I
so
see.
Like, I'm trying to get better arguments because this is what I hear. So whenever communists say, well, that's not real communism, that's not real socialism, we laugh at them, right? Venezuela, North Korea, Cuba, right? But when we as libertarians will frequently use that same argument, we'll say real capitalism has never been tried. Real free markets have never been tried. It's kind of like the same argument, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, from my perspective, Austin, free markets have been tried. Capitalism has been tried, and it's been working. Capitalism, to me, and I'm not an anarcho-capitalist. Like, I believe in limited government. I believe that there are some roles for government overall, and that we've had that in place for a long time. And the countries that move closer to that direction have had more prosperity. Even China, of all places, whenever it helped to liberalize after 1978, you saw a lot more prosperity overall. I mean, 1 billion people have come out of poverty across the globe over a very short period of time, even more than that, really. But whenever you look at this, extreme poverty, that is. But when you think about communism, they'll say it hasn't been tried. But let's say that you move closer in that direction. Every time that it's moved closer in that direction, there has been failure. You see what happens in places like Venezuela, socialism, communist sort of situation, authoritarian sort of governments. They have failure, they have famine, they have massive hyperinflation, all these things that come into place. And so what I see about the American system is that we have free market capitalism, or we had, but there are so many ways that it has now punched holes within the system. Whenever I think about it, Obamacare was pushing us closer to socialized medicine. The Fed is not a form of free market capitalism, because you're sending all these wrong signals throughout the marketplace by keeping interest rates artificially low. So
I agree with you,
to
Vance.
answer your question, Austin,
but can I cut you off? Sorry to cut you off. I'm really curious about what you will say to this. Another critique of your and my philosophy of free markets and free trade that comes from the right is that when we have free trade with China, they have slave labor, right? Like, I think you and I would agree that slavery is not capitalism, right? That slavery is not a part of free market capitalism, because if you're not free, it's not a free market, right? Yeah. But China uses slave labor to create, I mean, actual slave labor, meaning, in the gulags, creating products for us. Or and here's the thing. Am I a libertarian that that thinks sweatshops are okay? Yes. Do I understand the concept of going from working in a rice field to working in a factory as being a step up in terms of quality of life? Sure. The American people certainly won't tolerate those kinds of working conditions, and I can understand why. But when China is actually using actual slave labor to create those goods and services, is that really free trade? I mean, is that really something that we should allow here in the United States? Trade with companies that use actual slaves to create their products. What would be your response to that?
Yeah, it's a good point. And one thing I repeat is, free markets is really free people. And what we want are free people to be able to interact and exchange within the marketplace. And whether they be in the United States or China or Mexico or wherever else that they're going to be, we want free people to make that happen. I think there have been improvements in places like China for those people who are working in those places. And so we've got to think about those families that are there as well. And coming back to the point I was making earlier, though, why are we sending more manufacturing to China? Is it really because that it's so much cheaper? And a big part of that, the answer is yes. Why is it so expensive to do business here? Because of high taxes, high regulation, high minimum wages. I think that we're doing ourselves a disservice here in the United States by raising the cost. We are forcing not quite for workers to be slaves here, but they are very dependent on what the government is going to do along the way. Just look at the railroad strike that potentially could have happened with the labor unions. We should have right to work in every single state. We should have lower government spending, less taxes in every state. And if we did that and across the federal government, we would have more business doing here than ever before. And I think we saw some of that
I agree with you, Vance. I agree with you. It's just, I think that the reason why our ideas are on the retreat and the national conservatives are on the advance is because it's what Thomas Sowell said. We're replacing what works with what sounds good, right? I'll tell you, as somebody who's run for office a couple of times, it's not, here, especially here in Missouri, which is such a heavy union state, they don't like right to work. And they also don't like it when you talk about things like getting rid of the minimum wage, because what they picture are, taking your kids and putting them back in the coal mines and things like that. So I don't know how we sell these ideas to the American public. It's one thing for the economics to work, which I agree with you that they absolutely do, and that we do need to get rid of the minimum wage. I agree with you in principle entirely. But as I guess, a freedom fighter, a media freedom fighter, my job is to sell these ideas to the American people. And quite frankly, I can tell you that the American people aren't buying it.
Yeah.
If it's a free market of ideas, they're not buying our ideas. We probably need to just wrap them up in chocolate. Well, can we just give them some free stuff, Vance, maybe?
Yeah.
It's Christmas. It's Christmas, dang it. Don't be such a Scrooge.
I know. Yeah. Try to be Santa Claus, and give stuff away. But again, we've got to think about reality along the way. And I think good, sound ideas will work and will stand the test of time. Populism, I think, is a moment in our history. I don't think it'll last forever. It does sell well. You can cut taxes and you can increase government spending. You can give all these handouts along the way and it wins in elections. But the economic repercussions of having a fiscal crisis, having a national debt over $31 trillion, and all these things will come home to roost. And when those things come home to roost, we're going to feel the cost of that. And it's going to make us in a worse situation, have less freedom, less prosperity overall.
Totally right.
And I think both of us, we don't want that,
No, you're totally right. The problem is that we have that conservative mindset where we're willing to, people like you and I are willing to put off the gratification for a long-term reward. Most people, though, we're living in John Maynard Keynes's world where it's, where the Fed is pumping out cash. People want that instant gratification. They want it now. They want it now. They want to feel it now. And I don't know how we go back from there. There's got to be some kind of a cultural shift, but I don't know if we're going to get there anytime soon. Vance Ginn, is there anything else that you think that our listeners should know before I let you go?
No, I think this is a great discussion to have. I think this is an important one that we've got to continue to have, Austin. So thank you for bringing it up. I look forward to keeping in touch.
It is a great conversation. It's one that we're definitely going to need to continue to have, Vance, because I do think that it's going to be wise for us to find new ways to sell our ideas to the American public. Thank you for your time today, and we look forward to having you soon. Merry Christmas.
Hey, Merry Christmas. Have a good one. Bye.
You as well. All right, let's go over here real quick because I saw my buddy JGJ was in the live stream this morning before I go to my commercial break. JG was asking the day, does Lear Capital sell silver coins? Well, yes, they do, JGJ. It's nice to see over the live stream. Make sure that you visit their website, learaustin.com, or write that number down, 1-800-885-2175. And we'll be back with more on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupamericashow.com.
You exposed to hazardous materials while serving in the military and have an illness or condition as a result?
If so, you may be eligible for VA benefits and services. Whether you need health care or want to file a disability compensation claim related to military exposures, VA is here to help. Visit va.gov/military-exposures to learn more and apply today.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
Thank you, Governor.
Had enough yet? Do facts no longer matter? Are lies to be encouraged instead of punished? This is not our inheritance. If truth no longer matters, we will not remain free for long. This is our generation's challenge, to defend our founders' hope that we the people could self-govern if we defend our right to get the facts. And right now, we're building the only defense of free people have, the facts on every politician, every position they held, every statement they've made, every vote they've made, and any cash they've taken. It's the real history on those now pandering for your vote. There are hundreds of young people building our defense right now, and they need your help. We all have our passions, but as our ancestors knew, when events become so foul they threaten us all, we must stand and defend each other. Please, have our backs. Join us at votesmart.org.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? You can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas and a liberty new year. Socialists and commies may try to convince you that the holiday's all about free stuff. But let's be honest, we all know whose wallet Santa's gifts are coming out of. There ain't no such thing as a free stocking. Santa is the only guy with a big white beard promising free stuff that we want anything to do with this holiday. And if you don't believe, you don't receive. It's a capitalist, consumerist holiday, and it's time for a Santa-sized stimulus. Get your free market merch at the AP for Liberty shop today and stuff your socialist sisters' stockings full of capitalist cheer. Ho, 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 ho.
morning at 7:56. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. If it's your first time watching us on the program today, and we've got a good amount of people watching it, so we definitely must have some new people there. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. Click like underneath the show. That helps to spread the message of the program while we're live right now, to help get the show into other people's feeds on YouTube right now. So if you haven't liked the show, make sure that you get up there and click like on the show. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do that right now at youtube.com/AP for Liberty. Click that subscribe button, and there's a little bell you'll see underneath the video that you're watching right now. Click that bell notification icon. You'll get a little alert whenever I go live, which is every Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. I hope you'll forgive me. I do have a little bit of a sore throat today. We're going to power through the show today. We will have Judge Andrew Napolitano coming up at 8 a.m. One of our listeners texted in this morning. You can text us too at 573-319-1586. They said, Austin, I had a family member this weekend, which I was discussing what our current form of government is. The topic of capitalism, oligarchy, and fascism came up, and his dislike of capitalism, even though he comes from the Libertarian Party background. He calls himself a libertarian socialist. Some people love libertarians, it's true. The part about what he said about capitalism, though, is it true? Corporations by default are a legal agreement between a business and the state. The state gives them special protections as long as the business follows their rules. It's a contractual relationship. As far as the term capitalism goes, Proudhon popularized the term to mean property owners, meaning those already holding capital, former feudal lords charging economical rent from those without property, former serfs. Through the legal backing of the crown. Later, after Marx's death, his followers stole the term, turned it to mean something similar, those with capital extracting profit from someone else's labor. Only in America do we confuse capitalism with free trade, free markets, and commerce in general, because Mises tried hijacking the term from the socialists in the 20s. Then his students like Milton Friedman popularized his definition decades later. The term capitalism prior to this point in time, it was always understood, it used the state and the state vice versa. That's why people in my party that refer to themselves as anarcho-capitalists, I call them banana octopuses, because it's an oxymoronic term. The problem is that these Republicans are being enriched by banks and entities whose best interest is to control currency, not for currency to be free. You make a very good point there, and it's definitely something I'm going to respond to. I won't be able to do so now, unfortunately, because I'm going to go get Judge Napolitano to respond to it. I'll ask him that question. We'll talk to him about the Twitter leaks, and we'll talk to him about why it's important to defend even the free speech rights of your enemies. We'll be back with more in just a couple minutes on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy Bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks, need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake, yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes, you like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bush. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bush blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every $1 we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
Do you have any real-world experience?
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Make no mistake, reaching out is hard. Do it anyway.
I need help.
You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Good morning. It's 8:03. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show with Austin Peterson at wakeupAmericaShow.com. We are brought to you by Lear Capital. My friends at Lear Capital will be joining me this morning at 8:30. You don't want to miss that. Make sure to visit them at learaustin.com for all your gold and silver needs. All right. A man who's solid gold himself, well, he's the gold standard of libertarian points of view, is the host of the Judging Freedom podcast. He's my good friend and our weekly guest, Judge Andrew Napolitano, who's joining us on the program this morning. Good morning, Judge. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning, Austin. Thank you again for a generous introduction.
We love having you on the show today, Judge. And all of our friends are just they've been hitting me up for days and just saying, have you talked to the judge about this story? Are you going to ask the judge about it? And the reason why my followers are so keenly interested is because one of our, group of friends, we kind of we team up together online, we libertarians. One of my group of friends was actually named in the leaks that was suppressed by the Democratic National Committee. They submitted a request to Twitter to take down my friend's tweet. We call him Squiggly. His name's Kevin, but we call him Squigs. But he was named as one of the people whose free speech rights were suppressed, I believe, by the Democratic National Convention. So I guess my first question here is if it was the DNC that did this and not, Biden himself, is it still unconstitutional? Is it illegal? What are your thoughts on this massive drop?
Well, I mean, this is fascinating. We seem to learn a little bit more about it each day. We have to start with a couple of basics. And one is that the First Amendment only restrains government, even though it says Congress shall make no law. It has been interpreted after the 14th Amendment to apply to all government, but only to the government. So if Twitter, I'm just going to use Twitter as an example. I'm not saying that any of this is factual, but if Twitter, for example, wanted to do everything it could to help Joe Biden defeat Donald Trump in 2020, including suppressing damning but probably truthful information about Joe's son, and maybe a rabbit hole leading to Joe's bank account as well. And it did that as a favor to officials in the Democratic National Committee, or it did it because it hated Trump and wanted Biden to get elected. Though probably violates journalistic ethics. It certainly doesn't violate the law. But if Twitter did that at the behest of somebody in the government, FBI agents, for example, or the general counsel to the FBI, or someone who had the power to say, do this for us and we'll go easy on you, or we'll do a favor for you, then we enter a very dangerous area called state action. And state action takes place when a private actor, Twitter, and the government, in this hypothetical, the FBI or the Department of Homeland Security, are engaged in a symbiotic relationship. I'm putting my fingers together. One hand is the FBI or DHS, and the other hand is Twitter. They are so intertwined that they are benefiting each other. Then the First Amendment restraints can be imposed upon the private actor. That's the lawsuit as we speak, Austin, that has been brought by 16 state attorneys general, and it's before a federal judge in New Orleans. They're not asking for money from Twitter. They're asking that going forward, Twitter and other big tech, it's not just Twitter as the defendant in the case, be restrained from sanctioning on the basis of the content of speech. So if I have a bullhorn and I say, vote for Donald Trump at 3 a.m. in a residential neighborhood, can the government silence me? Yes, but it's because of the time, place, and manner of my speech. It's not because of the content. So if Twitter is sanctioning because of the content and they're doing it as a favor to the government, then the First Amendment will apply to Twitter and they will lose the right to do that.
If you're just tuning in to the Wake Up America show, I'm speaking to Judge Andrew Napolitano. We're speaking about the release of files from Twitter last week. We are learning this morning that apparently a former deputy counsel of the FBI was a top lawyer at Twitter and was apparently involved in trying to prevent journalists Matt Taibbi and Bari Weiss from releasing some of these documents and files. This is an ongoing story with breaking news. Now, Judge, when you hear this name, Jim Baker, he was described by Matt Taibbi as kind of a Zelig figure, which I explained earlier was a sort of like unassuming, type of person who just suddenly seems to always appear in the middle of these massive controversial news stories. What do you think? I mean, legal opinions aside, your view, the Constitution aside here, what do you personally think about the revelations about this Jim Baker character being potentially involved in the suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop leaks? Is this a situation?
I'm not surprised.
You smoke with their
I'm not
smoke their
surprised
fire?
at all. Yes, I'm not surprised at all, and I don't know how he could possibly prevent Matt Taibbi from releasing this. I mean, Matt is an investigative journalist that we all know or know of, known for intellectual honesty and for being an iconoclast. So he and you and I like to fit in the same company. I don't know how that could silence him. He is the chosen journalist for Elon Musk's revelations. I don't know Jim Baker personally, but Jim Baker is the lawyer who testified for the government in the trial for lying to the FBI against Michael Sussman, and the jury disbelieved him. The jury found Sussman not guilty after about 30 minutes of deliberation. But he was a very, very, very political general counsel to the FBI, which is probably why the old Twitter, the Jack Dorsey Twitter, before Elon Musk came along, hired him because of his contacts in the federal government, who could help them get done what they wanted done, or acquire information that they wanted to acquire, or suppress information that they wanted to suppress. Again, if done not at the behest of the government, unscrupulous but lawful. If done at the behest of the government, they're going to get in a lot of trouble. By the way, I was sanctioned the other day. I got kicked off of TikTok for 5 days because I made the following statement. Stewart Rhodes should not have been prosecuted with his 4 friends for a conspiracy to overthrow the government by violence. because when the conspiracy is impossible to perform, the government should not prosecute it. The government has better things to do. TikTok said that was encouraging violence, and therefore they suppressed that perfectly legal argument, which was made in a public courtroom.
Judge,
But
welcome to our world.
Twitter did this, because not Twitter, TikTok, because TikTok did this, because they hate me or hate libertarians or hate what I was saying, they can do it. If some FBI agent said, you got to silence him because of that, then I have a case.
Well, my concern would be that it would be the Chinese government doing something like that, in which case that's a whole new can of worms. If you're just tuning in to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson, I'm Austin Peterson, and I'm speaking to Judge Andrew Napolitano. He's the host of the Judging Freedom podcast, which you can download on any of your mobile devices and read his weekly column at judgenap.com. Now, Judge, I'd like to talk about your column that's coming out this week because I think it is of utmost importance, especially to the conversation that we are having amongst the vast right-wing conspiracy, the conservative and libertarian movement. And this is a discussion that we're having about the will to power that is being held by populist conservatives, national conservatives, they call themselves, who say that what is the use of having power if you don't use it? And they criticize libertarians and libertarian Republicans like ourselves because they claim that we are weak and that we don't have a will to power, that we wouldn't use it if we had it. But specifically, your discussion about protecting the rights of people who you disagree with, I think, is so important. And give me just a moment to set this up for you, because I know you frequently in your speeches discuss a play and a film called A Man for All Seasons. And I'd like you to just talk about this for a moment, because in one famous scene in this play, there's a discussion about giving the devil the benefit of the law, which I think is critically important to our national discussion today when we hear Antifa saying, take away their guns, and when we hear, Republican conservatives ostensibly saying that, no rights for people who disagree with this. Communists don't have rights. They're not people. They need to have their rights removed because they would take away our rights. Can you talk to us a little bit about protecting the speech and liberty of even people that you disagree with?
So Thomas More is the former Lord Chancellor of England, the rough equivalent 400 years ago to the Prime Minister today. And he is incarcerated because he refuses to acknowledge that the king is the head of the church on earth, and the horrible laws of the time, that's considered treason. And he's having a conversation with a young acolyte of his named Richard Rich. And in the conversation, they're talking about whether everybody is entitled to liberty, even when they're wrong. And Moore says, the land is planted thick with laws to protect everybody's rights. And Rich says, well, some people don't deserve rights. And Moore says, who? And Rich says, the devil. I would cut down every law in England in order to get to the devil. And Moore says, oh, and when the devil turned round and went after you, what law would there be to protect you? Who would protect you from the wind that then would blow? End of the conversation. Moore's point is that everybody has natural human rights. And among those rights are the right to think as you wish and say what you think and publish what you say, no matter how offensive it may be to others. So our former brothers and sisters in the libertarian movement, who now have become these nationalist conservatives who want to strip the rights of those with whom they disagree, could find that argument being used on them when those with whom they disagree come into power.
This is an important conversation to be having, Judge, because as the left and right being more at its throats, it seems, than ever, more and more people are pushing for what we call a national divorce, which for those who, in our movement that are pro-secessionist and anti-Lincoln, that sounds like something that would be, quite entertaining and quite interesting. My concern with that, though, Judge, is with on the national divorce question is when we talk about what strategies we have towards liberty, I would be concerned that a national crack up would actually lead to less liberty. That what would actually happen is that the worst of the pro government forces of each portion of each republic, if you would have it, would rise to power. So, consider what, the worst of what California has to offer, the worst of what New Jersey has to offer, and even the worst of what Missouri has to offer. It may not be as bad as California or New Jersey, but if the I guess one thing that I agreed with Alexander Hamilton on, and I know that this is heresy for me to say and to say it to you especially, but one thing that I agreed with Alexander Hamilton on in the Federalist Papers, Judge, was that as a united nation, that the states would be less likely to go to war with one another. That if Texas had a problem with Mexico, that the sort of cooling effect that New York, not sharing a national border with Mexico, would have, and having a vote and 2 electoral votes and having, 2 senators, being balanced with Texas, would prevent Texas from, going to war with Mexico. Do you agree with Alexander Hamilton that a united nation prevents, Kansas from going to war with Missouri, or Texas from going to war with, Louisiana or New York? I mean, is liberty
Well,
better
I
served
mean,
by
as a
a
matter,
united nation or a divided one?
well, I mean, just as a matter of rational thinking, the statement is correct. And just because it came out of Alexander Hamilton's mouth doesn't mean we shouldn't recount it. Even a stopped clock is right twice a day. Remember that one line that Hamilton and Jefferson, they wanted to kill each other almost literally, agreed on, which was when the federal treasury becomes a federal trough, and the people learn that, they will send to Washington only those who promise to bring home the biggest piece of the pie. But back to your question about Hamilton, among our natural rights is the right to leave the government, the right to secede. So just as Texas and Alabama and New Jersey and Missouri joined the Union voluntarily by a simple act of legislation, they can leave the Union voluntarily by a simple act of legislation. And Jefferson County, is there a Jefferson County in Missouri?
There is.
Jefferson County can secede from Missouri, just like Sussex County, where I live in New Jersey, and there isn't even an organized Democratic Party. Sussex County can secede from New Jersey, because that is part of your natural right to be rid of a government to which you did not consent. But I understand your argument that if New Jersey did secede from the Union, it might be even more oppressive here now without federal judges to rein in the excesses of Governor Murphy and the Democrats having 2/3 majority in both houses of the legislature. It might be even a more oppressive place. Well, then I can secede from New Jersey. Remember, under our beliefs, the individual is sovereign, not the state, and not groups of individuals, just the individual.
These are great conversations, Judge, and I hope, do I have a few more minutes of your time? Because I have another burning question I'd like to ask you.
Boston, you have as much of my time as you want.
Okay, good. One thing that I've started to accept over the years, as I've continued my study of our philosophy and principles and history, is the idea of the strategies for liberty, right? So in terms of, if New Jersey were to secede and then go and be even more authoritarian or totalitarian than it is right now, then I don't think New Jersey should secede, right? So in terms of strategies for liberty, I look, for example, at like the Jim Crow laws of the 19th and the I guess the 19th and 20th centuries. So the Jim Crow laws
Right.
in the United States, when the federal government stepped in to overturn the laws of the states, which were abridging the individual rights of the citizens, that is a violation of the principles of federalism, because the initial Constitution did not prevent the states from taking away people's guns, setting up a church. If they wanted to, if they want to quarter troops in homes, they could, right? It wasn't until we began to incorporate the Bill of Rights into the states via the 14th Amendment and this incorporation doctrine that we started to see a scenario where now the states can't take away people's individual rights. And we've seen Supreme Court cases that have upheld this. I believe, if I'm not, you can correct me on this, McDonald v. Chicago. But my question is this, because I've become less of a pure federalist in the sense that it's not important the mechanism, as important the mechanism of liberty as much as it is that liberty is attained, in that the state should not be allowed to take away your Second Amendment rights. And if it's the federal government preventing, New York, like as it has done in some of these Supreme Court cases, from abridging the Second Amendment rights of its citizens, that's what's really important. That's what really matters. So the strategy for me, it's about the strategy for liberty. If the federal government protects the individual liberty, I'm for it. If the state government does it, then I'm for it. Does that make sense?
I am so crazy about you. It's almost as if you're my nephew, because we agree on so many things. Yes, I fully agree with you on this. And this is a divide amongst libertarians. There's the Hans Hoppe libertarians who believe everything is property rights. There's the Murray Rothbard, Ron Paul libertarians who believe everything is natural rights. That's the camp that you and I are in. Our rights come from our humanity, and the government cannot take our rights away from us. They're inalienable. We can waive those rights by assaulting someone else's rights. But it is just as wrong for the state of New Jersey to silence my speech or take my guns as it is for the federal government to silence my speech and take my guns. Now, that is an argument derived from the origins of human liberty as within us, whether you believe we are the highest and best and most rational creatures on earth by natural selection or by divine will. Whatever it is, our rights come from within us. But if our rights don't come from within us, if they only come from property, if all of our rights are based just on our ability to exclude people from our property, but we can do whatever we want on the property, well, that defies the sovereignty of the individual and the natural origin of our rights. That's the divide that we're talking about. And you and I are on the side of the angels, figuratively and literally, when it comes
so this
to
is
the origin of human liberty.
I've got a couple more minutes then, Judge. Just one last thing here for you, because when I was having a conversation with one of my conservative friends the other night, we were talking about the question of banning gay marriage and the question of whether or not the federal government should intervene to prevent the states from banning gay marriage. And my argument was that yes, the federal government should prevent the states from banning gay marriage. They said, well, why were you on the side of Roe versus Wade being overturned if you thought that should go to the states? I said, because ultimately that serves the cause of liberty in preventing abortions. If it were required for me to have some kind of a federal action to prevent abortions, then I would be in favor of that, because I'm in favor of advancing liberty by any means necessary, because that is the ultimate good. So then my question is, Judge, did you support the Defense of Marriage Act, even though it defies the state's right to issue marriage contracts, or supersedes them, and protects the rights of gay married couples in those states, such as it is right now?
Yes, in a word, yes, for the very reasons that you articulated. As Justice Kennedy wrote in the Obergefell decision, that's the Supreme Court opinion upholding same-sex marriage and invalidating state laws that interfere with it. It's none of the government's business.
But that's the conservatives don't agree with this, Judge. The problem with conservatives is that their view is not that they don't agree with us that the government should be out of the marriage business. Conservatives think that it is the job of government to issue marriage licenses only to straight couples and to prevent any other form of arrangement, because they claim that a marriage is an institution ordained by God, and since they find this institution, a gay marriage, to be sacrilegious, therefore it should be rendered legally invalid as well. Your response?
So marriage is a contract between two people. What the hell does the state have to do with it?
Well, for real hardcore libertarians, Judge, two or more people.
There you go. I'm hardcore. There you go.
Judge.
Move to Utah.
Oh, I thought it was going to get us in trouble, Judge. All right, I've got to go to commercial break. Judge, is there anything you'd like to share with our listeners? Maybe give us a preview of what you're going to be talking about today on Judging Freedom.
Oh God, I'm having Jack Devine on Judging Freedom today. Jack is a former very high-ranking CIA official. He was in charge of Russian espionage in Russia. So Americans spying on Russians in Russia. He's the most pro-Russia person around, but I feel I have to have him on. He is the most pro-Ukraine person around, who believes it is the duty of the American government to overthrow Putin. Wow. So we're gonna have some fun with that.
Boy, that's good stuff. Boy, Judge, another conversation. I'm going to need a cigarette after that one. That's going to.
that is Judging Freedom, 3:00 p.m. Eastern time today, and of course on demand anytime after that. Jack Devine.
Judge Andrew Napolitano, our good friend, host of Judging Freedom. Thank you for your time today, Judge. Great conversation as usual. Have a good one.
Pleasure, Austin. All the best.
We'll be back with more of the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Were you exposed to hazardous materials while serving in the military and have an illness or condition as a result?
If so, you may be eligible for VA benefits and services. Whether you need health care or want to file a disability compensation claim related to military exposures, VA is here to help. Visit va.gov/military-exposures to learn more and apply today.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
Thank you, Judge.
Enough yet? Do facts no longer matter? Are lies to be encouraged instead of punished? This is not our inheritance. If truth no longer matters, we will not remain free for long. This is our generation's challenge, to defend our founders' hope that we the people could self-govern if we defend our right to get the facts. And right now, we're building the only defense of free people have. The facts on every politician, every position they held, every statement they've made, every vote they've made, and any cash they've taken. It's the real history on those now pandering for your vote. There are hundreds of young people building our defense right now, and they need your help. We all have our passions, but as our ancestors knew, when events become so foul they threaten us all, we must stand and defend each other. Please, have our backs. Join us at votesmart.org.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas. We wish you a freedom Christmas and a liberty New Year. Socialists and commies may try to convince you that the holiday's all about free stuff. But let's be honest, we all know whose wallet Santa's gifts are coming out of. There ain't no such thing as a free stocking. Santa is the only guy with a big white beard promising free stuff that we want anything to do with this holiday. And if you don't believe, you don't receive. It's a capitalist, consumerist holiday, and it's time for a Santa-sized stimulus. Get your free market merch at the AP for Liberty shop today and stuff your socialist sisters' stockings full of capitalist cheer. Ho, 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 ho! Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Well, my next guest is making his premiere appearance on the program. I'm really excited to introduce you to him for the very first time. We'll definitely have him back again, too. His name is Kevin DeMerit, and he is the founder of Lear Capital. He's joining us live on camera now. Good morning, Kevin. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Austin. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. Well, first of all, I've already been kind of talking you up to the audience because I kind of have a fan base. We call them the Cantina Crew, and we all kind of like share information about what's happening with the show. We've had a lot of people over the last few months who have stepped in to kind of help the show to grow and have become like a base of supporters because, you know, long term, what we really want to do is we want to turn this show into kind of a Liberty network. And so, you know, when everybody heard that Lear Capital was coming on board as a sponsor for the program, people were just thrilled, super excited. So let me just first start the show by saying thank you so much for coming as a sponsor for the program. It's a dream come true to be a libertarian who has a gold sponsor for their morning show. So thank you, Kevin.
Oh, great to be here, and I appreciate you as well.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here. And I think that a good way to talk to our listeners about the kind of services that you guys offer is to just kind of tell you a little bit about personal stories. So, you know, I started the Wake Up America show about 3.5-4 months ago. I left my radio job to go work for myself. And when I left my job, I had a 401k and I had no idea what to do with it because I had never really done this kind of like a transfer before. And I didn't want to get hit with these tax obligations that I thought. So I said, okay, so I'll transfer it to a Roth IRA and maybe I'll just do some kind of traditional spending and stuff like that. But I'm always looking for new ways to invest my money that I haven't done before because my wife and I are always kind of like squirreling a little way here. I mean, we have some gold and silver coins, right? But I've always been interested in like these gold IRAs, but I don't really know much about them. Can you kind of explain to us a little bit about what Lear Capital does with this and how these work?
Yeah, the gold IRA is about 50% of our business, actually, and it's very easy. It's exactly like a traditional IRA. If you have a 401k or a traditional IRA, you can transfer that to a gold IRA, and it's all tax, free. There's no penalties or interest or anything when you do that. And now you have physical gold inside of your IRA, and it's easy to buy, easy to sell. You just pick up the phone. We do all the transfers for you for that physical metal, and then you get a statement showing you exactly what those values are. And, since the beginning of the year, people have been very happy that they have gold and silver in their portfolio because of what the stock market's been doing recently.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, with inflation has really taken a big bite out of my portfolio. And, I do some investing in gold stocks and things like that. But I was curious when you get like a gold IRA, I mean, you're talking about physical gold here. I mean, do you guys hold the gold, or I mean, like, is it something like, what happens if I have to liquidate it for whatever reason? And I know I have to take a tax hit there or something like that. I mean, like, would I get physical gold, or how would that work?
Yeah, great question. So each one of these IRAs have to be held by a custodian. So there's a custodian in between yourself and Lear that makes sure that that physical gold is there, and make sure that all the rules and regulations that the IRA requires to make it tax deferred are all in place. But if you want to take physical possession of that metal, the reason that we work with this custodian called Equity is that they will allow you to actually take that physical possession. A lot of gold or silver custodians for IRAs make you liquidate and then take cash, and then you have to turn around and go buy the precious metal again. Ours does not. So you have either one of those options. You can sell it and take the cash, or you can take the physical possession of the metal.
To know. If you're just tuning in to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson, I'm introducing our new sponsor. Kevin Demerit is the founder of Lear Capital, and he's joining us this morning. We're talking about gold-backed IRAs. If you have a question for Kevin, send us a text at 573-319-1586. Again, if you have a question about gold or silver or about gold-backed IRAs, send us a text, 573-319-1586. And while we've got him here, I'll try and make sure that I get a chance to ask him that question. Simple question, Kevin. One of our listeners the other day, they're big, into the silver trade. They love to buy silver. Do you guys offer silver as well?
Yeah, we're one of the largest dealers in the United States. So gold, silver, platinum, palladium, even the older issue, collectible type coins. We offer all of the metals, precious metals, investor type metals that are available.
Great. Good to know. And so, I mean, and of course, you've got precious metals like gold and things like that. Where is gold at right now in the marketplace in regards to, the dollar? Has it gone up a lot lately? Because as we've seen inflation rise, typically you see gold increase in value as well. So what's been going on with the markets?
Yeah, in the past 60 days, the gold price is up around 7%. It's up around $6 today. And one of the big reasons, Austin, that the precious metals market is getting a lot of attention in the past 60 days is that central banks have purchased 650 tons of gold, with 60% of that coming within the last 60 days. Now, a lot of the listeners are thinking, okay, I don't know what 650 tons is. Is it a lot? Is it small? Well, since 1967 was the last time that central banks purchased the amount of gold that they've purchased this year, which is very interesting because 1967 was right before the 1970s inflation run that had gold go up 900%. The other reason I think that's interesting is central banks are not speculators, day traders, so they hold that gold for 10, 15, 20, 30 years at a time. So when you put an increase in demand like the central banks have on a fixed supply, and we can only pull so much gold out of the ground, you're going to get higher prices. And that's what we've seen in the past 60 days. I would expect through 2023, especially with the recession, you'll get much, much higher gold prices through the next 12 to 18 months.
If you're just tuning in to the Wake Up America show with Austin Peterson, you can send us a text at 573-319-1586. Make sure you click like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification icon so that you can get notifications whenever we go live, which is Mondays through Fridays, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. I'm speaking to Kevin Demerit. He is the founder of Lear Capital and the new sponsor of the Wake Up America show, helping us to build a new golden future for the show, and we're excited to have him here. So talk to us a little bit about how gold fits into a portfolio with stocks and bonds. I mean, how do you kind of balance it? So, I've got stocks, I've got bonds, I've got Roth IRA, I've got a bunch of guns and World War II collectibles, right? And, I whenever I buy something now, if I spend a lot of money, typically, I always say it has to be something that's either going to hold its value or increase in value over time. I know gold does that. But let's say if I have all these other investment portfolios, how much should I have in gold in terms of a percentage of my portfolio, would you say, just as a good hedge?
Yeah, that's a great question. And a lot of that determines, your age and where you are in life. If you're a little bit older, then the percentage is going to be a little tiny bit less because you're probably looking for income, and gold's obviously not going to produce the income, but it's going to give you the safety blanket while swan events happen with inflation or, driving planes into towers and all the weird stuff that we can't predict in the future. But I think people are shocked, Austin, to find out that gold has actually outperformed the stock market since 2000. So typically the percentage that we recommend is 20%. And I'll give you a good reason why. If you would have had 20% of gold and 80% in stock starting in 2000, you would have $60,000 extra dollars in your pocket because of that gold addition. So 100% of the money in stocks at 100,000 would have been worth about 320,000 today, starting in the year 2000. 80% in stocks and 20% in gold would be worth 385,000. So you had 65,000 basically extra dollars in your bank account today by having that 20% position in precious metals.
One of our listeners over on the live stream this morning said, he says, do they sell osmium? Because like me, it's very dense. Very funny. You can send us you can send us a comment as well over on the live stream. If you want to make sure that it gets read, you can send it as a super chat. But of course, you can always text us for free at 573-319-1586. Kevin, I was recently reading a report that our friend Rachel Mills wrote about cancel culture and its impact on culture and the economy. And one of the most important things that she brought up in this report that she wrote for you guys over at Lear Capital was the concept of canceling the American dollar. I mean, this is not a joke. This is something that is quite frequently talked about by foreign countries like Iran, countries like Russia and China, who would love to be able to move away from the petrodollar and move towards something that benefits them and favors their economies much better. I mean, is that the kind of thing that you guys are keeping an eye on, especially being in the gold business? Because I can imagine that, if you had a significant percentage of your portfolio in gold, that's the kind of thing that even if China or Iran or Russia were to take those kinds of drastic measures, then you'd be protected from it. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. You're already starting to see some of that in what we were talking about in the report. Russia has basically eliminated all of the U.S. treasuries. China is doing the same thing. The Middle East has been reducing their supply of U.S. treasuries, and they've been replacing it with gold. They've been purchasing about 3 times the amount of gold that they've been selling in U.S. treasuries as a net over the past 6 or 7 years. And I think you're going to see that trend continue because the United States has just over-borrowed from all of those countries, and people are starting to become concerned, can we repay that debt? And the minute, they don't think you can repay that debt, then they've lost trust and the dollar would take a major hit. So yes, we want to watch that very, very closely. The trend is starting slowly, but I think it could speed up over the next 5 or 10 years.
We're speaking to Kevin DeMerit. He is the founder of Lear Capital. Kevin, is there anything else that you think that our listeners should know before we let you go?
Yeah, I think with any investment, it's about education, right? Become educated on that investment. We've got a lot of great resources about IRAs and so on and so forth that I think people, if they sit down and realize what gold has done, like I said, since 2000 and some of those types of things, they will educate themselves and become better investors over time.
Well, Kevin, we certainly are excited to have you on as a sponsor of the program. It's great whenever I, as a host, can get behind something that I absolutely, fully, 100% believe in, and that is gold and silver. And I'm definitely going to talk to you guys about moving over my IRA to a gold-backed one because that sounds like definitely a good idea for my future. Kevin DeMerit, the founder of Lear Capital, thank you very much for your time today, and we're super grateful to have you here on the show. We'll talk to you again on my 2 p.m. radio program in St. Louis. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, Austin.
Thank you very much. All right. What did you think of Kevin? Send us a text at 573-319-1586. That was a great interview, didn't you think? Did you learn something about it? Well, if you did, let us know. Send us a message over in the chat. We'd love to hear more from you. And don't forget, he will be joining us again on my afternoon radio program today at 2 p.m. Kevin DeMerit. Isn't this exciting? We got a freaking sponsor, a gold sponsor. This is a big deal. Oh, so much excitement for the future. It started with the Cantina crew, and it's going to turn into a full-blown condominium development. We're going to start building hotels, houses and hotels, be like Monopoly. We're going to start moving in. Chris Morrill over here setting up shop. We got Camelia Peterson over there building her hotel. Steffi, my beautiful wife, she's just like working out the gold and the silver and the diamonds. Everybody's going to benefit. I promise you that this rising tide will lift all boats. Thank you so much for believing in me. Thank you for supporting the show, even in the few short months that we've had so far. We're just making huge, huge progress by leaps and bounds. All right, one more segment to go. What do you think we should talk about on the show? I just need a little break so that I can relax my poor strep throat. We'll be back with more on the Wake Up America show at wakeupamerica.show.com.
My name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Dee-Dee's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm
I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides. Dee Dee made Frenchy bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Dee Dee really likes it. Dee Dee said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake. Yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes. You like that? Big brother, please focus. Frenchy Bullshit. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bullshit blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
The real-world experience.
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Make no mistake, reaching out is hard. Do it anyway.
I need help.
You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Hey, I didn't see you there. You're gonna just walk in like on me like this in my state of undress? I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. How are we feeling today? What an awesome show. I had strep throat. My wife was like, you know, you can take a day off. And I'm like, no, absolutely not.
God! No! God,
Absolutely
please,
not.
No!
No way in hell.
No!
I might take one off tomorrow, though. We'll see. I do have what I think to be the beginnings of strep throat, but that's not going to stop me. I was too excited about the news. I've got too much to do, so much exciting things happening. And I just can't tell you enough how grateful I am to you, the watcher of the show, the listener, the supporter. Now, I did produce a commercial that listed a whole bunch of names of people who have become monthly sponsors, Freedom Ninjas who support us in the stream, people like Anna Marie. I see John Rail and so many others are getting their Christmas cards. I hope that I'm doing enough to impress upon you how grateful I am. Because I'll tell you, I was scared when this first started. Stephanie, my wife, we were both very, very nervous about starting this venture. And we didn't know what was going to happen. But I've always had this thing, this little phrase that I always said to myself, leap and the net will appear. Well, I took a huge risk. I jumped. And the net was there. And Camellia Peterson was holding it. And Chris Morrill was holding it. And Anna Marie was holding it. And John Rail and Matt Unruh and Anthony DiMarzio. All of our friends. Quest Fanning was there. Holding the net to keep us safe. Liberty lovers, we got to look out for each other. And you've looked out for me. I just want you to know that when we get big, and we will, as you can see in the live stream this morning, we're getting bigger. Step by step, inch by inch, we'll grow. I just want you to know that I will stay the same as I was when we first got started. I am now what I always have been. A freedom fighter and a liberty lover, and your friend. My voice is dying. It's time for me to go. I want to say thank you very much, but before I do, I'm loving this song. I'm having so much fun with my new gold scene that I set up this morning. And I'm just loving the whole disco beat behind it. I was thinking, oh God, I love that movie Goldmember. Let's just put a little Goldmember over there and have a little gold sparkles in the background and a little disco dance. Pop it up. Yeah, maybe turn up the volume a little bit. How about that? As we go, break, let's do a little dance together. Come on, guys. Let's dance together. Come on. Get your day started. You're gonna have a good day today. Guess what? I got some more news. Starting this Friday, and every Friday after, I'm going to have a co-host on the show. Can you guess who it's going to be? They're going to be in studio. They're a very, very sexy lady. Can you guess who it's going to be? Oh, yes. You guessed. My beautiful wife. Every Friday from now on, I will have a smoking hot redheaded libertarian lady joining me in studio on the show. So let's give a little bit of applause for Steffi. Yeah. Jamie Marie Pope, get them boogie shoes. We've got a lot to be excited for. Rare Camellia says, I'm here for the disco, baby. Yeah. Disco. Good. Oh, yeah. Hope you feel better, AP. Strep can't stop your disco boogie. Oh, hell no. You're gonna get out on the dance floor, baby. Put on them boogie shoes. God, I love this song. Picked it out this morning just for you. If you liked my interview with Kevin Demerit, make sure you write down this phone number, 1-800-885-2175. Somebody texted in and asked, hey, Austin, what is the gold IRA? I don't know what a gold IRA is. What's an IRA? Ask my friends over at Lear Metals. Write that number down or just visit the website, LearAustin.com. That's LearAustin.com. We'll see you tomorrow, maybe. Might have to take a day off, we'll see. We'll be back on Friday once I get some antibiotics. We'll see you later on the Wake Up America Show at WakeUpAmericaShow.com.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today.
Fire.
Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.